Hi everyone, welcome to our third lecture, and this is going to be a fun one. I know I said that about everything, but trust me, this is really cool. So we're going to talk about sensation and perception, aka the lecture of optical illusions and like all cool things. So one caveat here, because this is weird and online and remote, I can't just like wow you in a lecture room. So as you will get as much out of this as you put in. So pause, engage with these, follow the directions, don't cheat, and you'll get more out of this than if you go through it really quickly. Okay, so that caveat aside, I hope you enjoy this lecture. So this is the Perceiving Mind, Sensation and Perception, Chapter 5, and we're doing a small page range here because we are going to only talk about vision today as opposed to auditory and olfaction and all the other senses that we've got. If you guys are really curious about those, let me know and I can throw them in and maybe as extra videos or at the end of the course or something. But vision is all you need to know for this class. So let's get started. Starting off with this illusion. Maybe you've seen it before, but I want to know, you've got a green table on the left and an orange table on the right. And I have a simple question. Which table's longer? Which one's bigger? So pause and look at this and let me know what you think. If you're like me, that green one definitely looks like it's a lot longer in the background, right? But in actuality, they are the exact same size, which even when I have someone physically move a piece of paper to show me, I still can't believe, right? It just seems so not true. But we're going to talk about today how oftentimes we perceive things differently than they actually are. One other illusion, just to kind of whet your appetite, you've got a block on the top and a block on the bottom. And I want to know, are they the same shade of gray? Now this one we're going to hold on to. We're going to return to this one back in the middle of the lecture, so stay tuned. That's the crux of today's lecture. We're going to be talking about sensation and perception and going into a lot of depth on vision in particular. So let's get started. So first off, just some vocab words, because oftentimes these words get used interchangeably in media. So we're talking about two different things here. With sensation, we're talking about the raw sensory data. Think of your 5 senses. So this is the information that gets to you from the outside world. It's how you're sensing either sight, so visual stimuli, sounds, smells, tastes, things you're touching, etc. Those are your sensations. Whereas perception is how your brain is actually interpreting that information. So you may be feeling a phone case, but your brain might interpret it or has to still kind of figure out what it is. So your perception is what your brain is doing all the hard work of figuring it out. Perception, as you can see with those illusions, are the things that isn't always what it seems. We might be perceiving things differently than we're actually sensing. Now, the way that we get from a sensation to a perception is this process called transduction. So this is how we translate those stimuli, either the sounds, the lights, the smells, etc. It's how we translate that information into a neural signal that our brains can actually interpret and deal with, because our brain communicates in neurons. We talked about that in our last lecture. So somehow we have to get those stimuli to be neurons. So this process is called transduction, and it'll go through different stages in our brain. We'll kind of talk about this for vision more in depth, the visual pathway of how we actually get from a light stimulus to something our brain can think about. Okay, so I want you to pause. And I want you to think about what sensory information, so those 5 senses, what sensory information are you perceiving right now? What are you aware of? What can you feel? What can you hear? What do you see? I want you to take a second and write out a couple answers.